They say that common sense is not common, which, man, if you look at the way people think, you will agree with that. But another thing that is even more uncommon is the power of critical thinking. And it shouldn't be a power, but because people lack it, then it now feels like a superpower. So today we're going to be shaking tables. Managers, you should listen to this because we want to talk about critical thinking as a prerequisite for being a good manager. So you say you're a manager. We will know after this episode of Ceed Chat. Once again, thank you for joining us on Ceed Chat, proudly brought to you by Ceed Academy. Yeah. I remain Blessings Mosugu and the only professional that can tackle this matter here and now. Please join me. Welcome the business consultant himself, the masterclass guru, and of course, the managing partner at Certification Edge. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ajibola Bamidele. Woo, 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 woo. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Oh, you look amazing as usual.
Yeah,
I like this. He's giving.
Yeah, so bling bling bling.
He's giving African and Western vibe all at once.
Yeah, thank you.
That is cool.
And I like this your gown. So.
I know.
It's looking bonito.
Anyways, let's go to the meat of the matter.
Okay, good.
We're talking about critical thinking. Now, a lot of people don't understand the difference between common sense and critical thinking. Okay. And we're going to set it straight now because some people think that, we've been talking about the requirements for being a good manager. And some people believe that if they can do some basic things, then they're qualified to be a manager. And that's why I said that we're shaking tables.
Yes,
so, first of all, I would like for us to understand the major differences between common sense and critical thinking.
Okay, so if you cannot, common sense and critical thinking, common sense is that's how 80% or 90% of people live their life because it's acceptable, it's generally acceptable. That's common sense. Things that you feel, it's how we do it here.
Yeah.
But we don't question those things. So critical thinking is about questioning common sense. That is it really sense? Because as simple as the way we live our lives, your attitude, most people didn't choose their attitude chose them. So they formed this attitude, even though this attitude cannot lead them to where they are going. But any which way, that's what happens. Common sense.
Right.
As simple as me asking you, why did you choose this color today? People say, that's what I felt like wearing. Then I say, but based on the goals and the future you desire, is the best color you should wear for this meeting? Or you want to go and see you have a meeting with Zenith Bank chairman and you wore yellow? Then I ask you, why are you putting on yellow? Then you said, I just love it.
And it should have been red.
And it should have been red. So
critical
you're asking that you making sure everything you do is evidence-based.
It's intentional.
It's intentional. So you're saying, okay, why I did this, because why I looked this way, why I stood this way. Why. So in everything you do, there's a reason behind it. And you've thought about, you've put the end in mind. You've thought about what if it fails? What if it succeeds? How, when, how, everything. You've thought about it back and forth before doing it. But if you do things and you say, I didn't know that's how it will end. Well, that's because you lack critical thinking. You've not thought about it back and forth. So you've seen people that you even ask, okay, so the way I had a meeting last week and I was asking some few managers, okay, so the way you do your thing, do you think your department will be successful? So why are you saying your department will be successful? Now, if everybody in your department pick your behavior, would that department be successful? If you say, but we achieve. We believe in miracles. Which miracle is important? But there can be miracle. But imagine someone tell you and believe that next year will be good for me. Then I ask you, why? Or why do you believe tomorrow will be good? That person does not have reasons. He just believes, I just have hope. It will be good. So there's no critical thinking backing that affirmation. Just like you say, tomorrow you make 10 billion. Okay, but you don't have a job. So you ask yourself, How will it happen? It means that if it's going to happen, is that somebody would forget money and you pick it, or you steal, or you do 419. But if you're not going to do all, or your father became so rich, got money, and gave it to you. But if nothing like that will happen, you should know that by critical thinking, that cannot happen. Right. As simple as you saying, oh, I'll be promoted by next year. I ask you, how do you know you're promoted by next year? Because what are you doing? People that have been promoted, have you started doing those things? You've not started doing those things. They complain about you every time. They criticize you every time. They tell you you're not doing things every time. And you're still believing. And when promotion pass you by, you're still hungry. So I'm wondering, don't you know all along that the way they are correcting you and all, promotion will not come close to you. And you're wondering, hey, but I'm here for... So there's no critical thinking. So people now lead to frustration because they get shocked about what life brings to them. But it's just like somebody have not planted anything. I say, oh, my harvest will be big. I say, how do you believe it will be big? But what have you planted? There's no critical thinking. So there's a gap between our people, that's common sense makes you think.
Okay, so but then again, right? Okay. So what I'm hearing now is that for critical thinking, two of the major elements are preparation and being intentional. Yeah. But then again, in a space where, because truth is, this is life, right? Sometimes you don't have that luxury of time to sit down and think things through, to sit down and analyze, okay, this is how we're going to go. And I'm talking about the business world now. Something just hits you. Boom. Like it just comes your way and then everybody is panicking. Okay, what do we do? What do we
Have you heard about this one? They say Oti Ludo.
No.
You are careful. They say you are using your life to taludo. That you are doing to Ludo. No, Ludo is the only thing that you don't have to think too much. When you're playing Ludo,
it's luck and sense.
But when you're playing chess, when people play chess, before they make a move, they practice critical thinking.
But it's not all the time you have the opportunity.
Then you use your failures to now learn. And that sets you back. Because if you don't practice it, it means you're going to lose a lot. You're going to break your heart a lot. But so the cost of not thinking is high.
So are we now saying that being the ability to be spontaneous is a risk to critical thinking?
No. That's why you are thinking critically does not mean you are not spontaneous. Do you know that there's a way you train your mind that you can go
think on the spot.
And you think on the spot. So it's not about the length of time. Some people feel that when you do like this, what are you doing? I'm doing critical thinking.
You're meditating. Your inner chakra.
So you can be slow. I've seen people who said, Jibola, can you give me time? I want to go and think about it. Then I ask them, how do you know you are thinking when you are thinking? What do you do when you are thinking? You look at heaven. So what are you doing? I'm thinking. And you're wondering, who told you this? You have to think. So you're making a choice, and I'm asking you, why did you choose that? What are your evidence? Okay, so I've looked at the cost of this. I've looked at the risk around this. So I've looked at the cost of the risk around this. I've written the cost and the risk and this. And so I feel, based on, when I've evaluated the two and look at the cost and risk and all, I'm taking this. So then you are aware that for all decisions you're taking, there's a risk. And you are willing to take on because it's not that you're not aware, but you've weighed both ends. You're not weighing both ends. It's because you're not having critical thinking. As imagine you want to get people that, when I ask somebody, a married couple, they want to get married, and I say, what if you guys don't have children? Come up into them, come. Let's think critically so that we don't dwell in life frustrations. We don't get shocked because we're looking back and forth and we're looking at situations of life and we're saying, so what if it happens? What are we going to do? We're not saying it will happen. Critical thinking doesn't mean you're thinking negatively.
But it's putting into consideration the ifs.
Yeah. So, and at the end of the day, some people now know. Look at social media. People know that 90% of people that use social media don't think critically because they just get the news. And you look at during COVID, that somebody just said, if you take immunization on your right hand, that it will turn to remote control.
You say?
I don't know. Did you hear about it? That if you do like this on the TV, that
magnet,
and people were carried all around. People were saying, "Hey, I'm not going to take this COVID-19 something." They say your hand, you will turn to this, and it was a gist everywhere. And you're asking, how? What is there electromagnetism between what do you call it, vaccine and computer? So vaccine turned to computer and became code, and you're wondering, and people are carrying this around. And people are saying it with all, say, I'm not taking that thing. Why? Because I don't want my hand to turn to remote control. It was there. So as simple as, let me give an example. You're voting for someone. Just take example. So many people are shocked when things don't happen well in their environment or their country. Now, many years ago, I was telling about 10 years ago, I was talking to people and I said, why are you choosing this candidate? What has the person done before? How has the person behaved before? He said, hey, we believe when the person gets, come on, let's break it down. Whatever you cannot make happen for you, you can make happen for others. So what exactly has happened in this person's life? As simple as Nigerians, you'll be shocked that there was a time we had a president that the person did not come up with his cabinet till like 6 months. And everybody did not come up with ministers, did not come up with this, I forgot. And people were hungry. They said, what's this about? Then I said, come, in the last 6 months, what has happened in your own life? Generally, Africans don't take life serious, don't take time. So we chill. That's why 4 years doesn't look enough. Because we have a lot of time that we waste, and that's who we are. So when you start condemning a governor, condemning a president, then I start looking at you that, why are you condemning? Why are you making people become who they are not? And if you are the one, the same thing you do, because you don't value each of your time. So we don't think critically. How can somebody just say, you know what, if I become this, I can give everybody 1 million naira. You are saying, yes. Why? Because the person will say, I will give 1 million naira. Okay, so how would this happen? So we have hope without thinking.
Yeah, but I mean, there's this thing they say that na person will get money, they get option, right? And when you're comparing that with critical thinking, it's like saying if you want to think critically, it means that you put different options into play. But someone who doesn't have those options in mind, right? Someone who is not so knowledgeable to know that you can go these different ways is stuck with the stereotype.
So you need to be knowledgeable. You need to do research. You need to be able to prove all things. So when you have something, you can figure it out. Okay, as simple as me telling you that, do you know about osmosis? I said, no. But why can't you say, oh, I can check it now and tell you about it? You can know. Even children, when you ask them something, they say, Daddy, check Google. So they even know that you can know everything. So when you're interviewing someone and the person is saying, I don't know, you're wondering, you can know. So if I say, you're going to do presentation tomorrow, and he says, I don't know about it. But there's nothing you're looking for that is not online. That shows that person lacks critical thinking. Does not know that you can get any information anywhere. So you can be knowledgeable now, in 1 minute, in 2 minutes about a conversation. So I went to a place and I met a manager one day and we're talking, and the manager was sued, and he said, I didn't know. I sent that mail to the guy, but I didn't know it would take it on against me. And I looked at the mail and I saw there were too much loopholes that obviously can be misinterpreted. That you must be careful. You must do critically and say, okay, no, if this person flip it out this way, and you know that, okay, so, but I didn't know he will do that. It's because you're not thinking critically. So in everything you do, whatever you do, there's something we call vicarious liability. Whatever you do affects your business.
You're about to say, Oibokpo.
No, because it affects your business, so it can kill your organization. Okay, let's take, for example, you sending a mail out, and instead of them adding, making it 4 zeros, they made it 5 zeros, and that transaction went. So you're saying, but I didn't know that guy. Why can't you think? You need to think through and say, what if this guy? Let me do the final check. If I look at the risk of what I want to do, I would check over and over again. Like there's this particular guy that nearly got himself in the bank, wound up into trouble. The guy went out, the manager went out, and a client came to the office and gave an instruction that he needs, they should get in 3 days, $50,000 US $100 bill. And guess what happened? That guy took that, that request and gave it to the head of operations. And the head of operations kept it somewhere. And that guy forgot to. derivation for God too. So when it was the third day, the man called the manager and said, okay, so I'm waiting for my $50,000. He said, I've not seen anything like that. And the guy said, I dropped it in your office like few weeks ago. And 3 days ago. And they ran. Chief, something came. Yeah, he gave it to me. And they went. Who would they give it? I kept it there. They started running out of skelter. They got a $30,000 $100 bill. But they got the other ones for $50 and all. And the guy just took $30,000 and said, this is not what I asked for. I asked for $50,000 $100 bill. And immediately left, the guy called the MD of the company, the bank, and those guys got into trouble. So while they called them to panelists, and they called the manager, they wanted to fire the manager. And the manager saying, I wasn't even there. But you know what they said? They said, the reason why your team forgot is because of your management style. Because if your management style is such that your team will not forget, so you have, because they will forget for people like you because of the way you manage. You know, have you not seen people look at who they do things to?
Yeah.
So when they do something, check the person that is there.
Don't try this one. No.
Don't try with this man. No. The same thing. So people think. So they now said, manager, your management style is the wrong. The one you're using is wrong for the kind of maturity of people you have. And that's why you should go on suspension. And it went on 3 months suspension. And that guy that forgot was left alone. So you're wondering, critical thinking is a crazy thing. And you know, I was trying to say something before we moved on the other time about social media. You see, people don't read between the lines. People always forget that there's a second side to all story. So when somebody gives you a very good story, and you've not heard the second person, you dare not carry that story, that rumor, because you don't know. And people will start insulting the other person. I know this one. But do you know what happened? There was a time something happened between two, my team member in Abuja.
Yeah.
Just came to work angry and she was sad and all. What happened? My husband slapped me. I said, everybody was screwed. Of course, why will a man slap a woman? So I said, slapped you? Why? That's wrong. Sorry, what happened? Then she said, hey, he was watching football, and I said I wanted to watch the TV too. And I changed it, and he changed it back, and I said, he should not change it back again. Then I took his phone, and I said that if you change it, I will smash your phone. And the guy was surprised. And the guy changed it. Guess what the wife did? Took the phone, smashed it on the TV, broke the phone, the guy's phone. So that guy stood up and slapped her. Then everything went viral. The guy slapped it. The guy said, I said, if I was your husband, I would walk away not to come back, but I won't slap you. But I just know that I've married an animal. Few men in the world will you have your wife torment you that way. It takes emotional detachment, emotional intelligence. And that guy was also thinking critically. Because imagine you slap her in anger and she fell down and died. Yeah. I said, yeah, you now be saying, I didn't mean it. So there's a critical thinking from the girls, there's a critical thinking from the guy. So I told her, I said, your husband is wrong because, if he had eaten you, you'll be in jail by now. But however, what you did, guy, it takes a man that's really strong for him not to slap you.
Yeah.
Boy, she said to me that I'm the only one that pointed it to her that she was also wrong. Everybody was killing that man. However, I'm not saying it's good for a man to beat a woman. It's rubbish. But look at what she's done. So there's always a flip side to everything. You need to hear the other side. And when you carry things like that, I start saying, oh my God. If you have problems and you put it on social media, and people start advising you, as a man, hey, my employee did this, everybody will advise you. But you ask yourself, who are these people?
Yeah.
Are they people that are worthy of, giving you advice? Or you're just taking them, even on social media, 1,000 people say I should do it. Who are these 1,000 people? Are they not people
you've never seen before?
You've never seen before, and you don't know whether they are failures. You won't see them Otedola advise you that way. You won't say Dangote advise you that way. You will say Jimovia. But you didn't ask Jimovia. You didn't ask people that look like the future you are going. But you're going to go and ask people that you know that you might not meet at all in the future.
Right.
They are meant to destroy, kill, and do anything. So I'm just making you see that we're looking at things over and evaluating and making sure whatever decision you're making in life is based on your choice, not based on what other people say. Somebody said this, that's why I did it. Somebody said it. I went through, I analyzed it, I evaluated, I looked for a judgment, and this is what it is. That's critical thinking.
So now, I want to ask a question, right? As a business owner, as a, say, stakeholder, would you prefer a manager that is very, how do I put this? He knows a lot about the job. Let's say he knows 100% about the job, but he lacks the critical thinking ability. Or someone who can think on his feet, is a critical thinker by birth, but he knows just a little about the job.
As a man thinking, so easy. So let's say, for example, so many times when I want to travel, sometimes with my wife, we decide not to travel sometimes because we don't have someone that we feel can think critically. You know, as simple as my daughter was sick one day and was running temperature, and the nanny went there, picked the child, dressed up the child for school, even when she saw her, that she was running temperature. And I came, the kid is running temperature, but I've dressed her actually. Look at that. So, you know what someone can do? So now, there was a day, we said, can you please give a drug? Give a drug. And you know what? She went to go and mix different drugs together. You know, she said she doesn't want to give her or she might. So people that don't think critical can kill, can destroy. So can destroy whatever you've built for long. People that cannot put the end in mind, think back and forth. So I rather want you to not be too good on the job, but think, have critical thinking. There's someone that doesn't think. That's worse. So that question answers itself. Thinking is everything. And that's why the higher you go in life, the more they expect you to think. And that's why they call you head of department. It means the brain of department. So they said, this is the time you've been at the bottom, but this is the time you must use your brain. Imagine heads of department don't think critically. That department is finished.
So now it means that, there's always this saying that you can be book smart but not street smart. But in the business world now, you can be book smart but not business smart. So it means that the ability to think critically is not taught in schools. Is you being business smart?
Yeah, but there's what we call Bloom's taxonomy. We have different levels of learning. So most times in our school, they test knowledge. What is osmosis? What is that? So you can cram, you can take this. That doesn't demand critical thinking. But some schools will say to you, I went to a school a while ago, and the question in the exam was saying, Kunle came to work, and Kunle was not motivated. And after some time, Kunle was fired. Explain. And that was the question they're using to test a whole subject I learned for a whole semester. Guess what? What they're asking, why is Kunle behaving this way? I started talking about Abraham Maslow. They didn't ask for Abraham Maslow. I said, maybe Kunle's needs have changed. Or I started talking about Kunle's manager. I said, Charlie X and Y. Maybe Kunle had a wrong manager. I started talking about if it goes this way. I started talking about, okay, let's look at hygiene factors and motivational factors. Okay, maybe Kunle. I started relating, coming up with different things that could lead to Kunle's action. Or I started talking about maybe Kunle does not have a need for achievement. Maybe Kunle has a need for affiliation alone. And they placed him in a place. And they didn't ask for this. But guess what? That question made me write like almost 10 pages. I say, but that's what they're asking you. Relate things, think. So, but most Nigerian questions, and lecturers also are lazy. They don't want someone that will write that way because it's very difficult if you cannot read. You just say, he's writing too much. So they just want you to write it the way because and don't forget the reason why lecturers do that is because they don't also think critically. But why do we dole graduates out that would destroy the name of our school? Because every time a new graduate shows up, and that graduate cannot do things that we expect, then we tag the school. That this school is a bad school.
Right.
Why? Because that graduate is representing that school. So that lecturer does not know. He's not thinking quickly that this is going to come back. And very soon you might not have a job just because you are not taking that student well. Just because you said, you know what, we're going to take 3% of what we should, 30% of the course content, and I will give you AOC. But he's not thinking critically that person that will graduate from that school might be the person that will operate on your child, or might be the person that will deliver your children's child. And that person will make mistake because you're not thinking critically that it will come back. So if we think critically, then we'll change what we do. Because we've considered a lot. Then the reason why you are doing it well is because you don't want this guy in the future to kill people. You don't want this guy in the future. So you're not doing it because you hate that person. You're even doing it because you love the world. And that's the reason why you're making that person do it right. That's critical thinking. But it's a lot of thoughts going back and forth and making sure the reason why you're doing something, you understand it and you can defend it.
Right. Well, I told you we were going to shake tables. That's not on me, Mr. Ajibola. Literally shattered the table. But anyways, like we said earlier, critical thinking is a prerequisite for being a good manager, if I'm not mistaken. And that said, there's an event coming up. Mr. Ajibola, do you want to tell us about that?
Yes. Well, so we have 6 core areas that we're going to be. One of the areas we're going to be touching and managers and manage is critical thinking for managers. You don't want to miss that thing. You want all your managers, because the quality of their thoughts affect the quality of their actions, and it will affect their performance. So if you're serious about your business, then you need to be there.
All right.
You know, we'll challenge different thoughts and we'll stir up managers' thinking, and they will come back to your business, you know, and drive profitability, you know, and make you guys perform.
So you've heard it. That said, the largest managers gathering is happening at Radisson Blu Hotel in Victoria Island in Lagos. In case you've not heard, now I'm telling you. For more information on that event, check our social media handles. And also, that said, don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles. Remember, this program, Ceed Chat, is proudly sponsored by Ceed Academy, and you can find us on Instagram at We Are Ceed Academy. And also, the full clip will be dropped on YouTube, so you want to watch it, you want to share with your managers, share with your employees, share with everybody that works, because basically this will help one person or another. Don't forget, even if you have 200% skills on the job, if you do not have critical thinking ability, you have not even started. Anyways, I remain Blessings Musugu, and a big thanks to Mr. Ajibola Bamidele for doing justice to our questions. We'll see you again on another episode of Ceed Chat. Till then, bye.
Ceed Academy, your growth partner.